Welcome to another episode of Kurdistan This Week, where we bring you the latest from the Kurdistan region from NRT Studios in Sulaimani. The Kurdistan Region Parliament voted on Wednesday to approve legislation to reactivate the Kurdistan Region's presidency law. 89 members of Parliament voted in favor of the bill, 12 lawmakers voted against it, and 10 abstained or did not vote on the final measure. The Parliament approved 8 amendments to the presidency law in total, including one that addressed simmering tensions over the vice presidency by saying that there will be 2 vice presidents, but that the president would decide what their responsibilities would be. It also established that the Parliament will elect the president. The Kurdistan Democratic Party has already indicated that current Kurdistan Regional Government Prime Minister Nechervan Barzani will be its choice for the post. The KDP and likely governing partners, the Patriotic Union of Kurdistan and the Goran movement, hold 78 seats in the 111-member legislature. Before the final vote, all 8 New Generation movement lawmakers walked out of the chamber when an amendment that they had proposed was voted down. It would have placed a number of restrictions on presidential candidates as well as the office itself, including that all candidates must have at least a bachelor's degree. A vote on the new president is expected in the next several weeks. Asayish forces have arrested a total of 11 volunteers from the New Generation movement in Sulaimani and Halabja over the last 2 weeks, according to the movement and the detainees' families. There have also been 3 raids on the movement's offices in Sulaimani. New Generation official Soran Abdulwahid told NRT Digital Media that the movement had already informed the Asayish through its lawyers that it would comply with court orders and that raids were unnecessary. Movement officials also objected to the involvement of the Asayish on the grounds that the charges that have been indicated are typically handled by the police. Lawyers for the movement have also claimed that the Asayish are limiting their access to information about the detainees' cases. The arrests stem from allegations that members of the movement close to its president, Sashwar Abdulwahid, sought to blackmail movement MPs by releasing private tapes. Turkish warplanes bombed Gara Mountain in the Kurdistan region's province of Duhok on Thursday, making it the 9th strike in an 11-day period. NRT Digital Media reporter Nihad Oramari said that Turkish fighter jets bombed the mountain 4 times at approximately 10 a.m. in the Imadi district, northeast of Duhok city. No casualties were reported in the strike, but the risk that bombing runs will kill or injure civilians is higher at this time of year because local villagers often go into the mountains to gather spring vegetables. There were at least 28 cases of violations against journalists in the Kurdistan region in the first 4 months of the year, according to statistics kept by a watchdog group. The Metro Center for Journalists' Rights and Advocacy said that the rights of a total of 25 journalists had been violated during that period. 13 cases involved journalists being prevented from covering events in the region. Metro Center Director Diari Mohammed told NRT Digital Media on Tuesday that access to public information was limited and laws related to freedom of the press are not being implemented. Journalist Pishtawan Jamal said that the region's authorities treated journalists differently depending on their affiliation, particularly with regard to access to press conferences and other partisan events that nevertheless have significance for the broader public. Statistics released by the Kurdistan Journalists Syndicate show that there were at least 132 violations against a total of 212 journalists in 2018. Violations of the rule of law and human rights have increased in the Kurdistan region, the Democracy and Human Rights Development Center said in its annual report, which was released late last week. DHRD identified 1,389 violations that took place in the region in 2018. The statistics only included those that were recorded in urban areas, which suggests that the number was actually higher. The organization said that the majority of incidents occurred at police or Asayish stations. A common public relations strategy employed by the KRG when violations are exposed by rights groups is to point out that there are laws that prohibit torture and abuse and guarantee a right to legal representation. But DHRD's findings suggest that in many cases, the security forces ignored these rules and judicial decisions. 310 cases involved investigative officials disobeying judicial orders or failing to implement instructions. 118 cases involved accusations of torture or physical abuse of detainees, and 117 related to interference in judicial affairs. 677 cases related to violations by the courts themselves, and the remainder involved miscellaneous issues. Finally, the Sulaimani Police's Media and Relations Director, Sarkot Ahmed, said last Sunday that local units had confiscated hundreds of illegal firearms in the governorate. So far in 2019, the police were able to seize 136 pistols, 66 Kalashnikovs, and a number of other weapons, Ahmed said during a news conference. It also arrested 477 suspects for a variety of offenses during the first 4 months of this year. Apart from certain exceptions for members of the security services, residents in the Kurdistan region must hold a valid permit to own a firearm. Nevertheless, illegal ownership of weapons is common. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Kurdistan This Week. If you'd like more information on these stories and others, check out our website, nrttv.com/en, and be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.